Happy Thursday, everyone. We are so excited to be back with another Teacher Thursday, our episode 7, with Mr. Jeff Hollenstein over at North Chicago. Jeff, we'd love for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our Q&A portion.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Thanks for this opportunity today. My name is Jeff Hollenstein, teacher in North Chicago School District 187, which is a community school district in North Chicago, Illinois, and not near the city, but in the north suburbs. I've been with the district for 20 years, just finishing my 20th year teaching in the district, and I've been working as a career pathway lead teacher since 2014.
That's excellent to hear. We would love to know just about your path to kind of get where you are. So your pathway to be in career pathways, but also knowing that you wanted to be an educator. Tell us about a little bit about that background.
So, like I said, I've had kind of a long career in North Chicago, and I've had many different hats that I've worn, everything from, by trade, I'm a history teacher, and also coached basketball for a long time at the high school level. And to me, it was always, I felt really comfortable in education. I really enjoyed the opportunity to help young people. And when I got to North Chicago, I really saw that there was a need for people who were going to be passionate about the career and be passionate about helping kids. So I think when I got there, I just never left because to me, it was a place where I definitely felt needed. And it was a place where I definitely felt like I could make a difference in young people's lives. So many different capacities. The career pathway, our career pathway program was started in 2014. We started with a very small kind of pilot program where we had one cohort of students in a healthcare pathway. Since then, we've expanded it on to really include 2 pathways, but we also partner with Lake County Technology Campus to kind of offer a manufacturing pre-engineering pathway. So we have a healthcare pathway right now, an information technology career pathway, and then we partner with Lake County Technology Campus to offer some more opportunities for students.
And what exactly are career pathways for those viewers who may not be familiar with it?
So our model has specialized instruction within a career cluster that we offer in-house. So for our healthcare pathway, for example, we recruit during freshman year, and then students actually take an elective that's related to their career cluster their sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. So for example, our sophomores take Introduction to Healthcare, our juniors take Medical Terminology, and our seniors take Anatomy Physiology. So that's one component of the career pathway. The other is to give them some real experiences in the real world that are kind of related to their career pathway. This could be anything from guest speakers to field trips, to internships, to access to programs, to things like STEM challenges, like industry-related challenges, like we're talking about a lot today here. So really just kind of immersing the student in the career cluster while they're still in high school, so they can see what that's like, what skills are needed, and then helping them see the pathway like through college or through the career. We're also pretty cognizant of trying to show the kids some jumping off points along the way, because we realize not every student in North Chicago is going to college, and so therefore to show them some entry-level positions that might be accessible either right after high school or maybe with some sort of certification program. We really show kids those opportunities within our career pathways program too.
I love that that model is so focused on exposure. So exposing students not only early on, but to multiple opportunities of kind of exploring what makes sense for them post-graduation, whether that's college or not. I think that's really meaningful to do in high school and not just as, an exploratory course their freshman year of college. Why has that been such an integral part of North Chicago's mission, or how was that integrated originally?
So I think really, I don't know if I was so aware at the time when we implemented it that was needed, but what we saw is kids coming to school every day, kids showing up to classes, for the most part doing what they're supposed to be doing in classes, and really still not being engaged truly in the learning, just kind of going through the motions. And so when they approached me about starting the career pathway program, it was all about connecting kids to the content in which they were learning and making it more real and accessible to them, but also making it something that they could see the connection between what they were learning and what would happen after high school, whether that be college or career. So making that connection and making the learning authentic and real was very important with our career pathway model. So the students would walk away with a sense of not just feeling like I went through high school, but I went through high school and it helped prepare me for what comes next.
That's awesome. I think that mission alignment is really, again, in line with what the STEM Challenge accomplishes. And you've been so integral in implementing the STEM Challenge, especially as being kind of a teacher lead, but not necessarily in the classroom with our students. Can you speak to how the STEM Challenge has been kind of a community effort as you look at North Chicago implementing it?
Yeah, so it is kind of unique. Like I said, I'm a history teacher, so I teach all the students in career pathways their history class sophomore year, so I get to know them, and then I really need to kind of hand them over um, and really trust kind of some other people in the school that do a great job with them. So Michelle Miller teaches our healthcare career pathway classes. She does an outstanding job with that. Brock Farrick teaches our information technology classes. He does an outstanding job engaging them in those classes. And then the whole school from really the whole district from superintendent on down is realizes the importance of this program and really does whatever we need to help implement it. We're planning several field trips outside of the school building for this. We're hosting events at our school. We're, coming up with creative ways to bring people into the school, and everyone in the community, everyone in the school community supports that. And that's important because our kids start to see that it is kind of a priority project. It is something that they like, and even kids who are not in career pathways who don't actually do the STEM challenge, I think they start to see it as something that's kind of cool for the school. There's a lot of talk about it as things ramp up in the springtime with it. Everyone kind of gets excited about the STEM challenge, and it really is something that builds excitement throughout the school.
We get excited about the STEM challenge too, so we love hearing that. But I also imagine that it's a big cultural piece of the school, just showing kind of the values that the educators, the administrators, and kind of all the students are holding with this authentic challenge. So I think that's really wonderful to see at a high school level again. You've also been, as you mentioned, involved with ISTI since 2014, and you've been involved with AbbVie through ISTI since 2015. And your students have rose to the challenge each and every year that we've partnered with you. Especially, I want to call out when they brought their challenge to fruition and their solution was implementing a health clinic. That's a really unique situation in which the students not only completed the project, but they saw out that the solution came to life. Can you talk to us about that process specifically that year?
Yeah, I think it was 2016, and the group of students that came up with that idea, it was interesting. They came up with it kind of very late in the whole design process, and they didn't really know what to do. And then they started kind of, because kids always kind of jump to these really elaborate solutions to these industry challenges. But then they came up with something real simple that they realized there was a need in the community for more access to healthcare. And they said, well, if the community is centered around the school, why can't we bring a health clinic to the school? And so in 2016, they did pitch this idea to the school board. They obviously AbbVie was involved. They have something called a week of possibilities where they come in and kind of redesign a learning space in our school each summer. They do some amazing work. AbbVie's just an unbelievable partner throughout all this. And so the students pitched it. AbbVie and the school board were excited about the idea. They took a space that was an old dean's office and converted it into, there's like a front desk area, and then there's also some examination rooms, and then there's also a small conference room in there. So they redesigned the space and put some money into it and made it come to life. It's not a fully staffed health clinic like we might see in other schools. I know Evanston has like a kind of fully staffed clinic, but what they do is they hold some pop-up clinics in that space where they'll bring in medical professionals from Northwestern Medicine, and they will actually do sports physicals, and I believe they've done some immunizations in there and different things just to kind of keep everyone with health access in the community. So they actually have bussed in kids from other D187 schools to the high school to attend the clinic sessions there. So it's been great. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. It's right in the front of our building. So a lot of times when we have visitors to the school, they will walk, the administration will walk the visitors through the health clinic and kind of show them the space and talk about how it came to fruition. It was a student's idea, and the students were involved in the ribbon cutting, I think, back in 2017. So they were super excited about that. So it's just been a really positive thing, and it shows that even a very small idea can be very impactful. Like that wasn't overly scientific or complicated, but it was something that they saw the need and they saw a way to make an impact. So it was very
I
cool.
love it. I love that you touched on kind of the students saw a need. It wasn't just something that they thought up, but it was a response to something in their community. How does their community, still to this day, you mentioned, I know, kind of the pop-up clinic, but even in a bigger picture, how has the community benefited from a project like this?
Well, I think that sort of thing builds pride. I think they realize that they can make a difference and they can really their ideas can be something that's really impactful. So I think just overall, just pride and just ownership in what you do. AbbVie's Week of Possibilities has really kind of brightened up our school and made learning spaces a lot more student friendly and colorful and just engaging. And so when you have those things and students start to realize, North Chicago maybe doesn't have some of the greatest reputations around, but when people walk in our school, they realize that it is a place of community. It is a place where teachers work very hard to engage students in learning, and it's a welcoming place. So it kind of takes some of that stigma out, and it helps build pride. And I think students respond to that a lot. They tend to be more engaged if they feel pride in what they're doing.
I love hearing that. And I think, as you mentioned too, having partners like AbbVie who are so invested in the students, again, help create that sense of community and that sense of school culture that their voices matter, their ideas matter. And I think that's a really big takeaway for, our corporate partners to hear that, students love to hear that and be encouraged and be validated and that they're so worthy of it. Thinking through kind of working with professionals like AbbVie through the STEM challenge, why do you feel like that is an important step to bring to your classroom and to your students to allow them to work with professionals outside of the normal school context?
Well, I think our kids are very limited in North Chicago in what they see as far as career opportunities, and students only know what they see. So when you can take them to AbbVie and have them, work with professionals and work with adults that, they kind of get to know very personally throughout this process, and they start to speak openly with them and they start to feel confident. In the beginning, sometimes I think there's some they don't always know how to react in a professional environment, but that confidence builds and grows throughout this process, and they start to see themselves in those positions. And AbbVie does a wonderful job of also bringing in professionals that are diverse and that the students can relate to and see. And so therefore, students start to see, I can do that. That can be me. I can work for AbbVie. I can work in a lab. And they start to see the different career opportunities. But more importantly, I think it starts to build confidence that they can get to that point too. One student that I always think about in this kind of scenario is she's currently a junior in college, and she was always a good student, but never had a ton of confidence and didn't really know what she was going to do. She went through our healthcare career pathways program and the STEM challenge, and she's pre-med right now, and she wants to be a doctor, and she wants to go to Rosalind Franklin Medical School, which happens to be in North Chicago. The reason she's on that path, she tells me all the time when I talk to her in emails, the reason she's on that path is because of being in the healthcare pathway. She's like, I never would have thought I could be a doctor. She goes, I probably never would have even thought about working in the medical professional because there's the people around her don't do that, and she doesn't see that in her daily lives. So to bring those opportunities to her, in her own words, has really put her on path to do well. She's doing great at Dominican University, and she's excited about going to Rosalind Franklin someday for medical school.
In addition to kind of harnessing this new STEM identity or identity that they can see themselves pursuing in the future and kind of the professionalism and confidence that comes with it, what other skills do you hope your students gain by experiencing something like the STEM challenge?
Well, the big thing that they gain, even if they don't realize, is they learn how to be organized. Whenever you have a multifaceted project like this that does have deadlines and has, definite, you know, points where they need to get things done, organization becomes a really big thing. Collaboration is huge. Also, they learn how to talk on an online platform, the mentor matching engine. They learn how to communicate with mentors. This year they did a lot more video chats, and they worked on their skills trying to communicate in this environment we're living in right now. There's a lot of skills, public speaking, problem solving, how to take something that's an idea and turn it into something that can actually be impactful. And so the STEM challenge is really multifaceted, and it's very much authentic learning where students are able to, take an industry challenge, something that AbbVie might, try to solve on a daily basis, and they themselves as high school students get to solve it. So the skills that they develop are immeasurable. They do a great job with really building.
Reflecting on yourself as an educator, what have you been able to gain from an experience like the STEM challenge as well?
Well, I think the takeaway for me and also for my colleagues in the building is that North Chicago students and really all students can do amazing things if you give them the opportunities. A lot of times you'll hear kind of pessimistic teachers or people say, oh, my kids can't do that. This is too complex. There's no way they're going to be able to do a project like this. Or I even hear some shock, like when the students share out at the school, I hear some shock from teachers saying, wow, that was a really amazing idea, or their presentation was unbelievable, or they're such good public speakers. And so I think it does open up everyone's eyes that they are capable of a lot. Obviously teachers are in the profession because they want to empower kids and they want kids to grow and learn. But to be able to see that in front of them really kind of opens up everyone's eyes. Like if I challenge them, they will rise to the challenge. So that's what I've liked. That's my greatest takeaway.
We've seen them do that year after year as well. So we absolutely agree. In terms of over the timeline that you've been partnering with ISTI and partnering with AbbVie, do you have kind of a standout favorite moment that you think about every time you kind of take on the challenge?
Yeah, I do, because I think this is really a challenge that it does involve a lot of organization and planning for teachers. And so sometimes I do think at the beginning of this, like why are we doing this? What's really important? And Brock and Michelle have done a great job of really kind of taking on the direct contact with students and really empowering them. But when we reflect on why we do this, I always like to think of what we call our poster session at AbbVie. This is where the students all have their projects displayed on these beautiful vinyl posters that AbbVie prints out and displays in their cafeteria. And the students come over during lunch hour and they stand by their posters and they defend their projects and kind of give a stump speech about what their projects are all about. To me, this is always the most exciting day because every team is up there doing it. Every team is so excited about their project, and because they're giving their speech multiple times and meeting with multiple AbbVie professionals, their confidence just grows immensely during this process. They become so excited, like the energy in the room just kind of builds as you go to the end where the students are like giddy when they get on the bus about like how well they've done and how fun the whole process. And they're like, can we do this again next year? So even though some of the work and steps to get there can sometimes be arduous, where we're trying to get them to really follow through on what they need to get done, that can sometimes be hard both for students and teachers. But when we get to that poster session, that's always the moment where I think we feel like, wow, this is why we do this, and this is the impact for students.
Yes, I love that. And if any viewers are interested too, we actually posted the top 3 posters that would have been printed on our Facebook a couple weeks back. You can find our photos, so you can kind of get a sense of what that looks like. AbbVie and North Chicago also do an excellent job really in focusing on the community engagement with the STEM challenge. So after the poster session, we know that there's a top 10 experience or a top 10 kind of share out, and then in addition to a top 3. And North Chicago does an excellent job of not only bringing in AbbVie professionals, but also bringing in community leaders, so police force or other kind of political leaders in the area to see what the students are doing and kind of give their feedback on selecting that final team to represent North Chicago and AbbVie at the final student showcase. Why do you think, or what do you think it brings to the students and to this program that you have such a strong community engagement piece with this?
Well, these are the people you mentioned are the people who are the advocates for the community, the people saying things like North Chicago is a great place to live and North Chicago has quality education opportunities. So when we can bring in the police force, we worked with several police officers on projects. The fire department has come, like you said, and viewed our presentations, and I think even sat on our panel once. The mayor Leon Rockingham has been a great supporter of this. The mayor of North Chicago. He's actually the only judge that has judged all six now, I think, top 10 presentations. So he's been there for all six. And when I talked to his assistant, and when I talk to him, he's always saying this is one of the highlights for him to come and be able to be a judge at the ISTI share out. So it's great that the whole community is involved, because these are the people that are really kind of spreading the goodness about the community, and kind of getting past some of the negative things that people say about it. So to see them with to watch them interact with the youth, and to watch the youth work on their projects is really kind of uplifting for them, I'm sure too. And they're always so giving, because they realize by giving back, they're really not just improving the education of one student or this group of students, but they're also really kind of helping uplift the community. So that's really been a great process to have the community so involved.
And I know in education overall as well, community engagement is a huge piece that many schools kind of miss out on, either unaware of how to actively engage them successfully, or even just kind of where to start. And so North Chicago has really created this model and this sense of community that it's integral to not only the STEM challenge, but really your education process overall. In your opinion, can you just share a little bit about why you believe that community engagement in the education process overall has either impacted North Chicago, or just why it should be an integral piece at other schools as well?
I think every school should try to get the community involved. Well, first off, you're going to open up opportunities for students. Whenever you can have community, whether it's businesses, local government, police force, public works, whenever you can bring those into the educational process, it makes it real world and it makes it authentic. So it's very impactful for the students. But then I also think it's impactful for the community members that are involved, because again, they get to see how the students are growing and what they're being challenged with at school. And it sometimes allows them to see some of the positive things that go on in school, instead of just being bombarded with maybe some of the negative things in the community. So I think it's really uplifting, and it shows that there is progress being made. It shows that there's people working hard, both students and teachers that are working hard to make improvements. So I think whenever you can get the community involved, and the biggest thing I've found throughout this whole process, to get the community involved, all you got to do is ask. You have to have a clearer sense of what you want them to do if you go to them with something. And I think in the beginning, sometimes I was a little vague in how I'd approach community groups or how we try to engage people. But if you have a very specific ask, like sometimes, can you help students with this STEM challenge project? They're doing something that would relate to public works. Can you come in and sit with an interview with them? If you ask them, they're going to show up and they're going to be excited to do it. They make time in their schedule, and we've had really good success that way.
You answered my last question too, which was, if
Oh.
if a teacher was unsure of how to, no, it's all good. If teacher was unsure of kind of where to start to engage a corporate partner, or involve community engagement in their school, or even start a career pathways program, I think that's a great kind of defined ask, is a really great tool to put in a teacher toolkit in terms of asking, being specific. Is there anything else you would add to that? If, younger.
As far as the career pathway, I think find the model that makes sense for you. I know different high schools kind of do this different ways. So some high schools kind of just map out what career clusters, what classes would be good to take. We realized that didn't really work for our school. We're kind of a small school with like 700 students or 800 students, and we don't offer a ton of electives. And so we actually had to create the electives that would bring experiences to students. We couldn't just say, hey, if you want to be a doctor, take these courses. We actually had to create some courses. But some high schools are doing some really creative things around the career pathways. I know that the state has really kind of encouraged schools to do that. with PWR and really trying to get schools to provide career clusters and career opportunities. So I think the best suggestion I have is find the model that's right for your school, and then really work hard to make that come to fruition.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much, not only for offering your advice to viewers that may be in education positions, but just for spending some time with us to reflect on kind of your years of experience in both education and with ISTI and the STEM Challenge. We thank you for being here today. We were so excited to have the chance to kind of dive a little deeper into your background and what you do beyond the STEM Challenge. So I just want to say again, thank you so much. If anyone has questions for Jeff, you're more than welcome to drop in the comments or post them on our Facebook, and we will pass them along. Other than that, again, thank you so much, and we can't wait to see you in person very soon.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Stay safe, everyone out there, and everyone take care. Thank you.